Hi, everybody. Welcome to the August 2022 meeting of the Bike Walk Commission. The first thing on our agenda is welcome and introductions, and then shortly after that is public comment. So we got several members of the public. Diane Lauricella is here for the first time in a few months, and Diane's got her hand up. Diane, do you want to introduce yourself? And then if you have a comment, you can just go ahead and give it.
Oh, okay, Tanner. I raised my hand for the public participation portion.
Sure, yeah. I'm not too worried about
okay.
We kind of do these at the same time anyway. So if you have a comment, feel free to introduce yourself and then give your comment.
Okay, thank you. I'm Diane Lauricella. I've lived in Norwalk a lot longer than I ever expected, over 34 years, I think, just about. I was much younger then, and I am an environmental consultant by trade, open space and parks and recreation advocate, and I'm here just because I wanted to touch base. I wanted to congratulate and thank this commission and Tanner, the chair, because I've heard you speak at some press conferences that were recorded, and very much appreciate you going above and beyond, and this commission as well in going deeper and really working with the new staff from Stamford, Jim and Garrett and others, to make things happen a lot faster, and also a very thoughtful approach to your mission. So I just wanted to give you a shout out, Tanner, and your commission as well.
Well, thank you so much, Diane. I really appreciate that. And I think I can speak on behalf of all the commissioners who appreciate that. We're really doing what we can to make Norwalk more bike friendly, more walk friendly, and hopefully get more people to switch to modes other than their car to get around. We have, Ben, I noticed that Ben Handpeter was an attendee. Oh, and we have another attendee, Paul Cenard. Delene, do you mind promoting Paul to a panelist? Paul has been in our meetings before. And I talked to him the other day and he mentioned that he was going to come. So I'd love to have him participate just with everybody else. Excellent. Welcome, everybody. So Paul, I don't know if you have your microphone set up and everything yet, but if you do, I'd love to give you a moment right now to introduce yourself.
Can you guys see and hear me?
Yes, welcome.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Tanner. Thank you, Bike Walk commissioners. And my name is Paul Cenard. I'm a resident of the city. I live just south of South Norwalk, kind of in between South Norwalk and Rowayton. I'm a transportation planner by trade, a cyclist as well. And that is me. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you as well. Thanks again for joining. Is there anybody else that's here for the first time besides Jerry? Jerry's our guest speaker, and I will give him a chance to introduce himself in just a moment. I think everyone else has been here before. Does anybody else have public comment? Alrighty, then I will move to the next thing on the agenda, which is the Honorable Jerry Silver from People Friendly Stamford. Jerry, I will let you introduce yourself.
Great. Thanks, Tanner. So I'm a resident of Stamford. I've been there for like 40-something years. And about 10, 11 years ago, a few of us got together and said, you know, we're really not happy with what Stamford looks like. For those of you who know our city, back in the 50s and 60s, when urban redesign was all the hot thing, they put super highways going through the middle of our city. You know, and it's just, it was and still to a great extent is dangerous to walk around our city in downtown, even though, as I'll say, we have made some progress. So we got together and we formed this group of like-minded folk called People Friendly Stamford. And we've been advocating for, as I say, for about 10, 11 years now. When we started, we were just a bunch of radicals. Nobody cared, including our mayor. That changed when David Martin, our previous mayor, came aboard. He hired none other than Jim Travers. And so you know what I know what Jim is doing in Norwalk, and that's what he did in Stamford. You know, he put us on the map. Jim and I would often say, we thought we were supporting him, and he would yell at me and said, you know, Silber, you ought to be tougher with me. Why are you being so nice to me? You know, we were just appreciative of the great job he's doing. And he said, no, you should be pushing me harder, you know? So that's Jim. So I know the type of work that he and Garrett, who is a tremendous asset. We're trying to, Garrett still lives in Stamford. We're trying to get him to come to our people, some of our people-friendly Stamford meetings. So if you see him, please put in a good word for us. We started with the mission of making Stamford a safer place for people who want to bike or walk. Over the years, we've gotten some pretty talented people. And by the way, we're an all-volunteer organization. We're really a citizen advocacy group, not even a formal 501c3. Although we view ourselves as strictly nonpartisan. So we don't support any one party, but we do support issues. And actually last year, for the first time, we published a scorecard of all our board of reps. The board of reps, there are 40 of them in Stamford. It's a little unruly, but that's what our government structure is. That is like our legislature, and we've actually put a scorecard out for each of those 40 members. There are a couple that are, one actually is at 100%, a few in the 90s, and then they go down to almost non-existent. Our organization has been evolving based upon, really, I would say, the energy and instincts of the people who have joined. We've moved into transit-oriented development, and I'm sure everybody on this call knows what that is, which is really a natural progression from wanting to make streets safer for people who want to bike or walk. You don't need, particularly I won't say we hate cars, because you need cars. I do have a car, but we want to make Stamford and our communities less car dependent. So transit-oriented development will allow people, obviously, to walk to the train station. And we've actually recently evolved from that to focus on housing and equitable housing, because transit-oriented development talks about more dense housing in certain areas of the city. And I'll come back later. We've had, through our history, some successes and some failures, and we've learned from that. But what motivated Tanner to bring me to this meeting was really to talk about our partnership that we first formed with Greenwich. And Caroline Simmons, who is our new mayor, who is also very supportive of the type of work that we're doing. We've known her for a long time and has been a real champion. She, I guess, was speaking at some point with Fred Camillo, who's the first selectman in Greenwich. And somehow the topic of, hey, creating a bicycle-friendly path between Greenwich and Stamford came up. And the next thing I knew is Fred Camillo gave me a call and said, Jer, hey, can we make something happen here? And there are a couple of bicycle volunteer groups in Greenwich, Pedal Greenwich, and there's also a sort of a similar commission to this. I don't think they call it a commission, but that Greenwich has set up. And so we've started meeting for about the last 5 or 6 months to talk about how we could work together. The group at this point has actually put together a preliminary path, I guess you could call it. It's pretty much, it's all on road, but starting in Greenwich, going through some quiet streets, some of their parks.
Jerry, I've got the map. Do you want me to share it on the screen?
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah. Thank you.
Keep going.
Yeah, so as you can see, sort of the green line is what we're talking about. It's not necessarily the most direct route, starting from the left-hand side of the New York border, but does go through some quiet streets, some parks, as I said, and some more pleasant places to ride, safer places to ride, and then moves into Stamford. We do need to finish, excuse me, we do need to finish drawing out the line in Stamford, because we're planning to take it to the Darien border. And so we've actually called ourselves now the Greenwich Stamford Bike Partnership. Jim found out about us and said, well, wait a second, what about Norwalk? I said, well, we're happy to we're happy to have Norwalk join us. And so he connected me with Tanner, and that's why I'm here. And we're talking now about actually changing our name from Greenwich Stamford Bike Partnership to maybe something like Fairfield County Bike Partnership. We'll see where that takes us. But so we're excited about working with you. Tanner has already introduced me to somebody in Fairfield, and we need to find somebody in Westport, and probably the biggest challenge is finding somebody in Darien. So by the way, if anybody knows any volunteer bicycle advocate in Darien, that's probably our most critical next step to make this thing happen. So please follow up with Tanner or speak the name before we finish here. We could probably, my guess is that either Fred Camillo, First Selectman in Greenwich, or Caroline Simmons, our mayor here in Stamford, may know the First Selectman in Darien. I don't, but I'm not sure we want to reach out to that, whoever that person, he or she is, until we have a volunteer who's willing to help carry the ball. So here we are. We are working with Bruce Donald, who is the regional coordinator of the East Coast Greenway. I'm sure everybody on this group here knows the East Coast Greenway is this route that goes from the Canadian bicycle route from the Canadian border in Maine to Key West, Florida. They don't have a great path through Fairfield County. And so he's very excited as well about providing support to help us create this safe path that would take us safe and pleasurable path, and provide even economic benefit through Fairfield County. The path through Greenwich takes them through downtown Old Greenwich, which has some lovely old stores, but lovely stores, and places where restaurants and people can stop and get a cup of coffee or get a meal. So we think this will both be enjoyable, environmentally friendly, and support economic development for the community.
So can I just point out quick, Jerry, you
Sure.
mentioned that the East Coast Greenway path through Fairfield County is all off-road. You can see that here. If you go to the Greenway's website, they have this interactive map. And if you zoom all the way out, you can see the green sections are off-road trails. And so there are some decent sections at points in the trail, especially through central Connecticut from New Haven and almost to Hartford is the Farmington Canal Path, but all through Fairfield County here, it's all on-road.
Yeah. Ideally, they'd like to be off-road it's but there, as long as we can find some safe, quieter streets, that'll work. And I know that may not be exactly the priority where Norwalk is in terms of your bike path, but I think as long as we've got a dedicated bike path, we can make it work.
So we've got a question, Jerry. Paul's
Yeah,
got
I
his
was
hand
going to
up.
say, maybe it's good for me to sort of stop here for a moment, take a breath, and I can then talk about some of our learnings at People-Friendly Stamford, some of our successes and some of our failures. But why don't I take a break here and see?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Paul.
Has anyone thought about approaching Danny Cycles, which is on Route 1 there in Darien, next to the, I think it's St. John's or whatever, and Rooster Cafe, and seeing if they know somebody who's, really passionate about trying to transform Darien or the lot, or just maybe the shop itself might be a willing participant. Some shops are real advocate focused, some are not. It just depends.
Yeah, Paul, good thought. Yeah, I'm aware. I know of Danny Cycles, so that's, yeah, good thought. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know of anybody who's reached out to them. I have one contact in Darien that I have been meaning to reach out to, a woman who used to be on the RTM. No, she used to be on planning and zoning in Darien. But it's not a great contact. I don't think she's really an advocate. She's just kind of somebody that I know. So yeah, do you know somebody at Danny Cycles? Do you want to reach out to them?
I don't know anybody, but a cold email doesn't hurt.
Or a cold visit on your bike.
Yeah, that's true too.
I do ride past there pretty regularly because I go to the YMCA that's just a little bit past there. So unless somebody else gets there first, I'll stop in.
Okay, thank you, Tanner. Yeah, appreciate that.
Any other questions maybe about the bike partnership before Jerry moves on to kind of what he's learned from People-Friendly Stamford? Paul, your hand's still up. Is that just left over?
It is. Let me lower it. Sorry about that.
I guess I have one question, Jerry, that maybe I've asked you before, but I think would be useful for the whole group. What sort of with this route that you're envisioning between Greenwich and Stamford, are you envisioning just signage, or are you envisioning also some sort of infrastructure like a lane or a sharrow?
So hopefully we're obviously just in the beginning of the preliminary stages. In my mind, I would view, formal bike lane with sharrows, at some point, maybe even protected bike lane. We're not there yet, so we sort of have to move stepwise, but yeah, the answer is yes. And that's why I think we haven't finalized it, but I think getting some design funding, and Bruce Donald from the East Coast Greenway is also on a state committee that does have some state and access to state and federal funds that could be used for design. So if we lay out this preliminary map that Tanner shared with you, it would be good to work with some professionals who would then could then refine that and identify where some work needs to be done, where some infrastructure work may need to be done. Certainly paint with sharrows would be a minimum. If there's some areas, maybe through some parks where some more significant work needs to be done, then this study would identify that and maybe come up with what the price might be. And based on that, we could then go look for more significant state or federal funding to do more significant infrastructure work, if that appears to be beneficial.
Gotcha. So in the short term, you're kind of just looking to establish it as a route on the map, and then kind of step by step looking for better and better infrastructure.
Correct.
Got it. Ben's got his hand up. Ben, do you want to ask a question?
Yeah, I was wondering if direct fundraising had also been thought of. I know the Norwalk River Valley Trail has a way to donate on their website. I don't know how successful or unsuccessful they've been with that, but that could maybe be another way of getting funds.
Yeah, as I say, we're a bit limited because we're not a formal 501c3, so
Yeah,
we don't
for
have
sure.
the ability ourselves to raise money, and the type of money we're talking about really requires, I think, it's not the donations from people like us. It's state or federal funds. A design study probably would cost $100,000 or $200,000, and if there's some infrastructure work, it could go into the millions.
Yeah, I guess depending on what the scope is envisioned as, it could be incorporated, like the full partnership could be incorporated as its own 501c3. I think kind of like how the NRVT is done. And again, I don't know any details about that. I don't know how much of a pain that is. I'm sure it's a lot of paperwork, but just a thought.
Yeah. So, we're going to sort of take it one step at a time. This meeting is part of the process. We're growing and learning. Is that Judson? Did you want to say something?
Yeah. And after Judd, let's let Jerry move on to talking about wins and losses in people-friendly Stamford. At 6:30, we need to move to our next agenda item. But go ahead, Judd.
Who's replaced Jim and Garrett down in Stamford?
One of the people who he had hired, there are two, Luke Bettenweiser, sort of the Garrett replacement, and his boss, I'm just blanking out on his name, was an assistant to Jim, has taken over at this point.
Okay, and I mean, are you talking to them about it? I would think.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. They're on the team.
They're on the team, and
yeah, for the past, as I say, 5-6 months, they've been on just about every call.
Okay, and are they looking at grants or anything, or?
They're not looking for grants for this in particular. I know they're looking for grants to do, put bike paths and
other things.
Other things in Stamford. Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
But maybe they will in the future.
Yeah, right. I think the first step, we're sort of, Bruce Donald from the East Coast Greenway has led us to believe that he probably could help us get some design funds. So that's why that's our prime focus.
Okay.
So yeah, we've got just a couple minutes left, Jerry.
Yeah. So
the rest is yours.
Successes. Stamford bike lanes are coming in. I live just south of the Merritt Parkway in an area called Turner River here in Stamford, and just this past week, Vine Road, which is a block from my house, for the first time in world history, has a bike lane on it, and it connects Newfield Avenue. Some of you may know that, to High Ridge Road. Some of you, I'm sure, have heard of that. Which High Ridge, the team put bike lanes on High Ridge at the beginning earlier this year. So we're actually beginning to get a network now. Tanner is showing you there. You see the red dot is where I live, and that Vine Road is connecting High Ridge with Newfield. And we did a few years ago, there's a bridge in downtown Stamford that goes along it's called the Mill River Bridge. It used to be Route 1. So, at the turn of the century, cars used to go on that road. It about 20 or 22 years ago, it got so dilapidated that they said cars can't go on it. So for the last 20 years, or more than 20 years, it's been a pedestrian bridge that goes through Mill River Park. Yeah. So the park, Mill River Park, which is a beautiful downtown park in Stamford, said, hey, let's keep it as a pedestrian bridge. Let's renovate it. And it really doesn't look as good as this picture makes it sound. It makes it look. This must be an old picture. It's pretty dilapidated, but there's like one tiny walk path over it right now. And they're even talking about thinking of closing that one down. But there's a community in Stamford, just to show that not everybody agrees with what we want to do, that had said, no, we should rehabilitate that bridge since its other name is the Main Street Bridge, because it used to be on Route 1. It is on Route 1, but Route 1 was redirected in the 50s to something called Tresser Boulevard. And so they want to have cars go back on that bridge, bisecting this beautiful park that we have. About 2 or 3 years ago, it went up to the Board of Reps meeting for them to decide. And by the way, there's no money to rehabilitate it as an automobile bridge. The park was willing to donate $2 million that it had from a state grant to rehabilitate it as a pedestrian bridge. Obviously, a vehicular bridge would cost a lot more. But we, by one vote in this 40-member Board of Rep, we at least got them to not proceed with, to let us proceed with this pedestrian bridge. We'll see what happens. It's not over yet. The other area I talked about is we're starting to get into housing. There are a couple of corporate parks that about 20 years ago, again, were filled to the brink with employees. Most of those buildings now are vacant because corporations don't want to be up on near the Merritt on High Ridge Road and whatever. But the Board of Reps and our zoning board said, yeah, well, why don't we redevelop those buildings as low density housing, which Stamford desperately needs. You can't, housing costs are probably not too different from Norwalk, are really accelerating because there isn't enough housing. Our Board of Reps, again, blocked that. Oh, and the famous one, somebody talked about a trail along the Merritt Parkway. That was our first goal of creating a East Coast Greenway that would go through really all of Fairfield County. We were going to be the pilot here in Stamford between High Ridge and Newfield. But Jim Travers was here at the time. He had gotten money to do a design study from the state. We had to just give, I think, 10 or 20%. But again, our Board of Reps kiboshed that. So that's why we don't have a Merritt Parkway trail even designed. And we've now moved, things work out. We've moved to what we're talking about now. So
Jerry, we've got to move on to our next agenda item. So
yeah, I would just say, just to close, the learning is politics is important. Even if you're a non-political organization, we need to learn how to be effective at community activism and politics. Tanner, thank you.
yes, and thank you, Jerry. I wish we could give you more time. Unfortunately, we have a good problem, which is that we have lots to talk about.
Great.
lots going on, right?
Yeah, I wish you all lots of luck. It's great to see that Norwalk is doing this. Yeah, keep going, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks so much, Jerry.
Yep. Bye-bye.
So I'm going to reorder the agenda just a little bit. Sam let me know that he has to leave a little bit early, and Sam's got an item on the agenda that's a little farther down, and it's just short. So I'm going to swap those if that's all right with you, Sam.
That's
it should
great.
be a short update
Yeah.
too, right?
Yeah, well, there's not much to update other than we need to get this group together. So I sent out an email middle of last week trying to collect some people to meet. I believe only one person responded, but this is all in regards to the artistic bike racks. I think this is a really cool opportunity for us. Sorry, I haven't been too on the gas in getting this group together. I would like to propose 2 times to try and make this happen. One of which being this weekend, Saturday, and then another one hopefully midweek this week. So my thinking there is I will attend both meetings, and whoever can make both or one, I'll take notes, I'll relay what other groups are thinking in terms of artistic bike rack ideas. So I was thinking Thursday at noon and or Saturday at 10 a.m. So I'll put this all in an email, but that's really all I have to update the group with. But I would encourage other people to use electronic mail to their advantage. I attached Tanner's bike rack wish list to the most recent email I sent out regarding that. Take a look at the bottom of the list where we do not have bike racks, where we think we could utilize bike racks. See if the location brings up any emotion or imagery and suggest it, right? We can get a little loose with these. This is just the idea phase. So welcoming everybody to participate in whatever zany way, as long as someone can make it into a metal bike rack.
Thanks, Sam. I'll add to that quick, and then I'll let Paul comment. The wish list that I made, and Ben Hampeter here also helped quite a bit. That wish list is not meant to be limiting. That is meant to be a starting point for even more ideas. So feel free to obviously look through that. I did want to point out that it is very easy to find that wish list. I'm going to share this. I've created 2 URLs. One of them is bikenorwalk.org, and also the same. You get the same site if you go to walknorwalk.org. As you can see, this is just a link tree, so it's just a way to link to other pages. There's a link on here called bike rack map, and that opens up the bike rack map that I maintain. Ben also helps. And there's a layer here called bike rack wish list. And if you look at that layer, you can see all the spots that Ben and I put on the wish list. And you can even turn off the other racks if they're too distracting. So that can maybe help you to brainstorm. There's also, in the email that Sam mentioned, there's the spreadsheet. Another way you can brainstorm is you can go to dero.com and look through their custom racks. They have all sorts of ideas here. This might be another way to figure out, like, where could we put something like this that would tie into some theme in Norwalk? Like if we had a museum of natural history, maybe we'd put a Tyrannosaurus out front. Maybe if there's a really beloved cafe that one of you know of, we could put a big coffee cup outside. These aren't meant to be. If we
put a T-Rex bike rack, maybe that will lead to a museum of natural history.
Maybe. I mean, the possibilities are endless. So that's just what I wanted to say. Go ahead, Paul.
One, I won't lend my artistic expertise because I don't have any. You probably get like a stick figure. But you know, when you get into artistic bike racks, you got to be strategic about their placement and the size, because sometimes they're too big for the context in which they're in. And then 2, have we ever approached one of the local artists and see if they might be able to come up with something?
I don't think that we have. I'm pretty sure that we've been working mostly with Dero. But Greg would be able to comment on that more. And Greg has the next item on the agenda, so I'll just let him address that in his time. If are there any other questions about the artistic bike rack meeting? Peter, you got your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to say real quick, Sam, I was in that meeting and I saw a ton of people respond, so actually I kind of backed off on adding my name to the list. So if it hasn't come to pass that you have the support you need, I'd be happy to attend the meeting.
Oh, please, there's no cap to how many people can contribute. I think the more the merrier. Even Paul's comment just now is a parameter I wasn't really considering. So Please come all.
Okay.
Yeah, Paul and Peter, can I share email addresses with Sam so he can add you to this?
Yeah, of course.
Sweet. Great. Then without further ado, I'm going to turn the time over. Paul and Peter, do you mind putting your hands down? I'll turn the time over to Greg for updates from TMP.
Hey, Tanner, thank you. So I'll answer Paul's question real quick. Yeah, I mean, how we will go about it, it's not that we would definitely order directly from Zero. It would have to be a bid process. It'd have to be an RFP that would be put out. So it'd be open to all vendors and, as far as getting bike racks. So, we did put out an RFP at one point to get a contract for specifically bike racks. But unfortunately, with the price of materials these days, companies didn't want to lock in prices right now. So we would put out another RFP for a more larger order with artistic and also just regular hoop style bike racks with logos on it. And, companies can feel free to, place bids on it. Whoever wants to do it. We did put a couple in, and we've gotten a lot of positive feedback. We did do the shark bike rack across from the aquarium on North Water Street, which is a pretty large size. There was a large amount of sidewalk space that we were able to place it, and we've got nothing but positive feedback from that. So, we would look to do it, obviously in proper places where size would allot. And then we also did smaller ones, such as the Sono branding one that we did on Washington Street, which is a little smaller space as well. So the sizes vary. So we'd be very, strategic as far as where we put those, and, make sure we leave, we don't clutter, especially if it's on a sidewalk or something, we don't clutter certain areas for bike parking. So anybody have any other questions on that? All right, so if not, so then I'll move on. So just piggybacking off of what Jerry was talking about before, the connectivity grant, that's kind of how this all kind of amassed with the partnership with Stamford and Greenwich, and using our connectivity grant, which runs along the East Coast Greenway along Route 136 from the Darien Westport border. So that's what's really kind of, got the ball rolling a little bit, and meeting with them and discussing how we can, kind of continue that through Norwalk and then the surrounding towns as well, and how we can coordinate that. So on the connectivity grant, very good news. We received a notice to proceed from DOT Community Connectivity Group project regarding the striping, the north-south, east-west, and the sidewalk construction, as well on Hunter's Lane. So we've received notice to proceed on that. And getting that notice to proceed, we're now allowed to start the advertising for the construction bids, as well as the installation of the overall project for both bike routes and the sidewalk portion as well. So the city, we're very excited on that, because it's been a few years in the making, to get that notice to proceed. So, we submitted all the final design plans and documents, and heard rather quickly back from the connectivity group at DOT, giving us that notice to proceed with putting out the project to bid and advertising the project. So we're quite excited about that portion. And the notice to proceed also has allowed the city now to submit new projects for another round of the community connectivity as well, where the last couple of years we have not been able to, just because we already had this project pending. So now that we've received the notice to proceed, we can now submit new projects for another round of community connectivity money, which is very nice. So that money could be up to anywhere to $600,000 for a new project. So we're eager to see when the next round is and start, putting some ideas together. But first, we want to start, main thing is getting this project, installed and looking how we move that forward. We'll need to do a couple, we'll have to put out a couple advertising bid process for the signage for the bike routes, due to just the large number of signage that will have to go in. So that's one of the next steps in the process, is putting an RFP together for the signage, because we have over 100 posts that will have to go in, between the 17 lane miles worth of bike route between 136 and the north-south route going up to New Canaan Avenue. So there's a pretty significant amount of signage that goes along with this as well, on top of the striping, which the striping, we're going to continue to coordinate with DOT and also our DPW in Norwalk as well. So that, because some of the roads are planned to be paved either later this year or early next year. So we may have to look at this as a piecemeal project and get as much done as we can when the roads are newly paved, so that there'll be nice newly paved roads and nice newly striped roads as well for these bike facilities, which are very, very happy to finally put these into practice now. Yes, Tanner.
So first of all, Greg, I just want to say congratulations, because it's been such a long time in the making. And
Yes.
this is a big milestone.
Yes, it is. Very big milestone.
I'll introduce Willem more fully later, but I've got my friend Willem here, who's joined the meeting from my desk. The question I had was about the signage. You said that there's like 100 posts that are going in.
Yes.
What's going to be on the signs? Is it just
Well,
a sign that says bike route?
Well, no, so they'll mainly be like bike lane ahead signs, bike lanes, signage, bike lane end signs, bike route as well. There will be any kind of sudden change in the path, especially along 136 specifically. There will be bike route signage with arrows as well, pointing in the right direction where the bike route will go if there's multiple avenues to take coming to an intersection. So we've designed this to advance for the cyclist, 100, 150 feet in advance of the intersection, bike route, right, bike lane ends, or bike in lane share out for a share out. So we have actually over 225 signs, but 100 signposts, because there will be duplicate signage on some posts.
Gotcha. Cool. Thanks. Other questions for Greg about this bike route project?
Yeah, so we're excited to move this forward and putting this out to bid for portions of it and getting it striped. When roads are ready to go. So that's our next step in this process. So we'll keep you posted as we move this forward now. So the
Greg,
work is kind of just starting. So hey, Jeff, what's up, Jeff?
Hey, Greg, how are you?
Good. How are you?
So will some portions go out to bid this year?
Well, we're looking, so we're utilizing our in-house striping contract, to do some of the roads.
Yep.
There are some roads that are pretty, beyond repair right now.
Right.
That we want to get paved first, and that's where the coordination with DPW has come into play. So we're gonna look to get as much as we can this year, and then look to coordinate with some roads to get them paved first before we stripe, because grinding it and striping it just wouldn't be beneficial, and it would just be a waste to stripe on some of these roads that are kind of in disrepair right now. And also same thing with DOT and with 136 as well. DOT is planning to pave, to mill and pave portions of Wilson Avenue and Fort Point and Van Zandt Street later this year as well, before the paving season's over. So we're coordinating with them as well what that timeline looks like. So we'll that's something that we're waiting on, and we'll coordinate with them and get done as much as possible this year. And then whatever's left, we will hit early next year to finish it.
Okay. So a portion of it will go in this year, is what?
Yes. Yep.
Great.
That is our plan, to get as much as we can this year, and then whatever the paving allots us this year we'll do, and then whatever is left over we'll do next year. And like Tanner said, we've put a lot of work into this, and now that it's been the notice to proceed from DOT has been received, we want to push this hard to get it installed. We didn't come this far just to stall here, so we want to get it in. And like I said, the other big portion is the signage. That's going to take some time, and we'll have to hire an outside contractor to come in and install, because that's a large number of signs to install.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, great.
Any other questions?
So Greg, last week to enable the correspondence with Stamford, you sent me a list of all the different sections of the route.
Yep.
And you know, which ones have sharrows, which ones have bike lanes.
Yep.
Do you mind if I put that up on the screen?
Absolutely. Go ahead. That was just a quick, that
In
was just
fact,
a quick description for each road.
yeah, I went ahead and took that list and I translated it into a map. I just put it together pretty quick. So here we go. Okay, does everybody see that? Am I sharing the right window, first of all?
Yeah, we see the
Yes.
map.
Okay. I've shared the wrong window before. So the north-south route, as you can see here, I mean, we've gone over this before, but I'm not sure we've ever visualized it. And this was super helpful for me when I put this together. The green is bike lanes. The thick green right here and right here is a buffered bike lane. And then the blue is just a route with sharrows. There are gaps in here because, and I should have added this and I didn't, because there are some roads that already have either a bike lane or sharrows. For example, this big chunk right here that's missing through Rowayton is Rowayton Ave that already has sharrows. And then Water Street here in Sono already has bike lanes. So I guess the biggest takeaway I had is that most of the north-south route, or at least the majority, will have bike lanes, which is great, especially up north of Route 1 past NCC, which will be great for kids commuting to NCC and also potentially professors.
Like me.
Yeah, Willem's an NCC student. And then the east-west route is going to be mostly sharrows. We've got one exception here on, what is that? Judd, you live down here.
That's Meadow Street.
Yeah, thank you. Meadow Street's going to have a lane in one direction and then a sharrow in the other direction, kind of like Seaview has right now. And then there's a lane already on Water Street and on the bridge, and that'll continue up to, is this Van Zant?
That's Van Zant, yeah.
And then the gap here is because you're leaving that for the East Avenue project.
Yeah, that's going to be part of a larger scope, project scope. And, you know, with the money that, you know, we had from connectivity there, that's just not enough money to address that portion. So we're looking at that as on a much larger project.
Yeah. So one other comment that I want to throw in here is that when I saw this, I was like, you know, why not all bike lanes, right? Why do we have sharrows? Because it's been pretty well established in the research that that sharrows are not as helpful for cyclists in terms of safety as a dedicated lane. I actually talked to Jim about that, and Jim told me that when he came to the city and he inherited the project, it was actually all sharrows.
Yes, it was.
Able to convert about 7 miles of the route from sharrows into bike lanes.
Yep. 7.2 miles of bike lanes and the remaining, and about 1.2 of those is buffered, and then 6 miles is conventional bike lanes, and then the rest is shared lanes. You know, obviously we would have loved to have gotten bike lanes throughout the entire project area, but with the widths of the road, we're just not able to, especially along Wilson Avenue. It's just not attainable.
Greg,
Go ahead, Jeff.
am I correct in that when you guys were able to change the road width standard from 12 foot to 10 in Norwalk, that opened up a lot of roads to
It
have
did. Yes, it certainly did. Yeah, the 10-foot definitely allowed us, especially going up Fox Run on the north-south route. That definitely opened us up to put in a 10-foot travel lanes with a 5-foot bi-directional bike lanes in each direction. If we weren't able to have that, which a few years ago we weren't, we definitely would not have been able to incorporate this with 11-foot lanes, and a smaller bike lane. So the 10-foot definitely helped.
Everybody know about that? What happened? I don't know when that was, a year and a half.
It was about last March, I believe, April,
like one of the first
March
things
2021.
It's just that the standard width of a traffic lane in Norwalk, the minimum width was 12 feet prior to Jim Travers coming on board, and he was able to get that changed down to 10 feet, which makes the shoulders much wider and therefore opened up all these streets to bike lanes. So
DOT on the other hand, they're a little bit, they like 11-foot So there, 136 was a little harder. But in working with them, we got everything, that we can. Even on Wilson Ave, for instance, it wouldn't have made a difference just because the widths of the road are just,
Yep.
they're just too narrow to put in bike lanes, even with the 10-foot travel lane. So it didn't, that portion didn't matter. But we got them in wherever we could. We put bike lanes in.
Well, maybe in a few years, ConDOT will accept 10-foot lanes.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Only time will tell.
Yep.
A lot of new faces at DOT these days, so we'll see.
Are there? Good,
Yes, there are. A lot of retirements over the last couple months.
good.
Ben's got a question. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, just a couple of quick things. One is, I know Tanner, you made this map, but is this project plan like public anywhere?
If you want like the striping plan design,
Or I mean, even just the map is cool. I just didn't know if this was like able to be shared.
so I mean, if you want to see like the overall striping plan, you can come to City Hall and see them. We don't have it anywhere like for online for public to see.
Okay.
Because we had to get approval from DOT. So, but you're more than welcome to make an appointment and come in and look at all the plan, the whole plan set. For the whole design.
Okay. And then my other question was about the 12 to 10 foot change. What is that governed by?
Well, usually, so like a lot of different, so like NACDO and FHW, or I'm sorry, MUTCD, like, they have different overall suggestions as far, well, so much suggestions, more, recommendations for certain road types, what roadway classifications, what certain widths should be based on traffic volumes. So, it seems to be changing a lot, where you could put 10-foot lanes in, depending on the roadway classification, but there's still some that say that no, that you need 11-foot lanes, especially just based on vehicle type as well. So there's many different groups that will tell you different, especially from like state design guidelines, and certain just areas of recommendation that will tell you that 10-foot is fine, and then another group will say no, you need 11 to 12-foot.
Okay.
So it all depends on where it's coming from.
And then is there like a city standard that those recommendations are like applied to, and then that has to get rewritten to be able to?
Well, that's what
10
Judd was
instead of 12.
alluding to. That's what Judd was alluding to. So last year we were able to put in 10-foot lanes into the roadway design guidelines. We were able to
Okay,
put
yeah,
in 10-foot
okay, that's
lanes.
what I was wondering. What sort of like
Where
the
in the
guidelines.
past, before that, we weren't able to get 10-foot lanes. Would have been rather difficult to do, but when Jim got here and we were able to get the 10-foot, but like at the same time, like I was talking about before, DOT on the other hand, they want 11-foot.
Are those guidelines viewable online at all?
Yeah, in their DOT design guidebook, which is about 600 pages.
What about the cities? Are those online?
Oh yeah, those are online. Yeah.
Okay,
Those are
cool.
online, yeah.
Sorry.
Like I
I've
said,
asked
it's all
7
about
questions
roadway
here, so-
classification, based upon what road type it is. Whether it's collector or major arterial, because it's, there's a lot of different factors that go into it as far as speed, speeding, vehicle type, if there's a lot of larger vehicles that travel on it, where that need a little bit wider travel lanes. So it all depends on that.
Awesome, thank
So
you.
unfortunately, there's not one governing jurisdiction that says every road can be 10 feet. There's just not, unfortunately, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. So maybe one day.
I hope so.
Yes.
Water Street has 10-foot lanes.
I don't know how we still scratch our heads about that one, Judd. I don't know how that one got by DOT.
We
That's good. That's because Judd and I are pearls. We're a pain in the butt, and we turn things into beautiful things when we're persistent.
yes,
Yes, because
we applied constant gentle
Constant irritating pressure.
we put some 10-foot lanes on some areas on this, and they were like, nope, 11. We're like, well, what about 10 and a half? Nope, 11. So you guys did something that changed their tune for Water Street. So I don't know how that happened.
I think Water Street, while it is State Route 136,
It's
the city has sort of ultimate jurisdiction over it.
it's city maintained, yes.
Right.
But they still want to sign it because we tried doing something similar on Meadow and and Burr as well, which is city maintained as well, and they recommended certain things, and they were kind of resilient on that they weren't changing. No matter how many times we sent it to them, they said 11 foot, change it 11 foot.
Well, just for a bit of history too, the Straffolino Bridge,
Mhm.
which is 2 lanes each direction. I believe those travel that we wanted to get bike lanes in there,
Mhm.
and they said you got to have 5-foot lanes and
Yeah.
minimum 11. And a former member of this commission went to a state conference on transportation
Mm.
and sort of called out the then commissioner of transportation, who's talking all about safety for bicycles and things. And
Right.
shortly after that, the Straffolino Bridge got approved with 10.5-foot lanes, and it
Yeah, I was about to say, when we were looking at 4 Point Street, there's definitely not 11-foot lanes that's out there now with the bike lanes. So surprisingly enough, so I guess they're lenient on some things. So
yeah. Anyway,
unfortunately, we haven't figured it out yet.
Can I jump in for 1 second? Just, I wanted to clarify a few things for people that.
Colin, after your comment, we'll need to move on.
Yeah, no problem. I just wanted to, so in case Ben didn't pick it up from the context of Greg's comments, the acronyms that Greg was throwing out are the professional design manuals that the professional trades and traffic engineers reference. So like his FHWA is the Federal Highway Administration. The NACTO is the National Association of Transportation Officials, and they've been publishing these design guidelines for a long time, and the research and the data has been changing as younger people have gotten into the trade, and also as the data has started to support cities and more pedestrian and people-friendly design over the years, especially the past 2 decades. I'd say that I've been following these things. So the data's changed, the standards have changed a little bit, and we're finally starting to see a more expeditious shift in the design practices, and that's borne out in what we're seeing that Greg got pushed through with the connectivity grant and the move of the standard here in Norwalk, which got rewritten because of the evolution of the federal and the larger standards that are used by the trades. IT is another one, the Institute of Traffic Engineers. Is that it, Greg?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's actually funny enough. You should mention that there's actually a conference this week, which Jim and Garrett are at in New Orleans right now.
Yeah, so that's a big one too, and they've been evolving over the years with context-sensitive design and really responding to communities more than responding to the cars. I mean, it's still heavily weighted that way, but it's gotten much better in the past 2 decades, I'd say, and in particularly the past 5 to 10.
Yes.
But I just wanted to make sure that.
And AASHTO is another one as well. And thank you for clarifying that, Colin. I appreciate that. I forget where I am and who I'm talking to sometimes. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I saw there were a few more public people in the meeting, so I wanted to make sure that they understood that that's what you were talking about. So I'll let us move on now. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Colin. Thanks, Greg. I just want to check in on our time. It's just after 7 p.m. We've got until 7:30, and after Greg, we still have 25 minutes of agenda items. So Greg, can you expedite the other 2 agenda items?
Absolutely, I can certainly do that. So I don't know if anyone's been up on Philo Street lately, but they recently milled Philo Street, especially between Fox Run and North Taylor Ave right now. And working with DPW, Philo Street was added as an amendment street to the paving schedule for this year. It was not on the paving schedule originally. So DPW put that on their list because the pavement was deteriorating. So what we looked at was the sidewalks and also the cross sections of Philo as well. So we looked at the sidewalks. There is a footpath there right now, but we wanted to look to widen that a little bit. So We're gonna putting in 5-foot sidewalks on Philo between North Taylor and Fox Run. So yeah, right there, Tanner, right between the golf course there. So it runs along the northern edge of Philo Street. So we're going to widen that sidewalk, and the sidewalk also has a 3-foot amenity area as well, all the way through, which is very nice. So we'll have a brand new 5-foot sidewalk with a 3-foot amenity. And then we'll
Amenity
look to-
area might be one of those terms that we should define. It's the strip
Sorry,
between the street and the sidewalk.
3-foot grass strip, if you will, which separates the curb from the sidewalk. So there'll be a 3-foot grass strip where we could plant trees, and it will be a buffer, if you will. Instead of walking right alongside the road where cars pass, you'll have a 3-foot grass strip in between, which allows an extra buffer between the roadway, which is nice. And then in going out there so many times and looking at this road, we're actually able to put in, once it's repaved, we actually are maintaining a good 31 to 2 foot cross section throughout. So we're going to put 5-foot bike lanes with 10-foot travel lanes in along this section as well, which allows even more of a buffer between the sidewalk and the travelway as well. You know, this is where our meetings with DPW has definitely come into play. You know, especially one of the sections on Philo, we were unable to keep that 30-foot. So we talked with them about widening the road a little bit. So for about a 400 or 500 foot section of road, they're going to bump the curb out a little bit where they're on the other side of the street where there isn't a sidewalk, and which will give us that 30 feet so we can get bi-directional 5-foot bike lanes and two 10-foot travel lanes, which is big, which will definitely you know, transform that section of the road. And if you look the intersection of Fox Run at Philo, that's where the connectivity grant is going to be coming through. So now we're opening up connections now to another road based on the connectivity grant. So this is how we're trying to build the network, the bike network, which will just, you know, keep building off of existing routes that we're creating. So we're building upon that. And then if you go to Hunter's Lane, Tanner.
Oop.
Yeah, if you want to just go, yeah. So there, DPW is also milling and paving Hunter's Lane as well. So obviously the part of the connectivity grant between Ponus and Lancaster, there isn't a sidewalk there, but as part of the connectivity grant, we're going to add the sidewalk there. It's about 1,100 linear feet. And then we'll have a crosswalk right in front of the school there. And then, well, which will have RFBs, which are the flashing pedestrian beacons. And there's a sidewalk that will continue all the way to Philo. So that will definitely open up and improve walkability throughout this entire area, which serves 3 schools as well.
So is the sidewalk from Lancaster here to Philo, is that new? I don't remember that from last time.
No, so there's already a sidewalk on Hunters on that portion.
Oh, I got it.
So that one is just going to be redone to have a 5-foot sidewalk put in. And then that portion north that's a whole new section of sidewalk.
Gotcha.
So we're expanding the sidewalk network based on the connectivity grant. And then that will connect, Hunters will connect to Philo, where we're putting in another crosswalk as well. And we're restriping that intersection right there, Tanner. We're restriping that whole, you know, that whole split right there where Hunters and Philo disconnect. We don't like the intersection the way it is, but we're going to do the best we can with striping to kind of, you know, put in some traffic calming and just narrow the lane a little bit going on to Hunters, and also the curve there going on to Philo as well. So we're going to clean that up a little bit and slow traffic going through there.
Awesome.
Greg, quick question.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Is the sidewalks you're talking about on Philo and Hunters, those are bituminous sidewalks? So
Yeah,
asphalt?
so they're bituminous, and the curb right now, the existing curb is bituminous as well. So with that, we wanted to keep that. We wanted to put in a grass strip so it gives extra separation. You know, we would have liked to have put in concrete, but with the existing drainage, the catch basins, and what's there currently, it's suited for bituminous lip curbing right now. So so everything's going to be bituminous curbing and walkway. And then actually Hunter's is going to be extruded concrete curb with asphalt.
Excellent, thank you.
So just to summarize, you said on Philo that it is going to be separated from the street with that amenity zone that you talked about, the
Right.
grass strip, but the sidewalk will be asphalt and the curb will be asphalt, but there'll be a grass strip between them.
Yep, correct.
And then on Hunter's Lane, to summarize, there's going to be a concrete curb immediately next to an asphalt sidewalk.
Correct. Yep.
Cool.
Yep. Yeah, there's no, unfortunately, there's not enough space on Hunter's for a grass strip for an amenity space, but getting that new sidewalk segment in will, we'll make more of connections, especially when there already are existing sidewalks on Ponus. So that opens up much more walkability connections to the three schools.
Awesome. Should we move on to the last item, Highland Ave?
Absolutely. This one will be quick. So I don't know if everyone saw last week, there was a press conference for the, kind of commencing the start of construction for the Highland Avenue sidewalks. There was a pretty good crowd there. Tanner spoke. We had the mayor there. Senator Duff was there as well. A couple of the council members as well. So they
And last but not least, Willem right here.
yes, and Willem, sorry, I apologize, almost forgot. And Willem was there as well, and they had some words, and the mayor and Senator Duff as well spoke, helped very positively on the benefits of the sidewalk being put in, and affecting property values, and affecting just the overall walkability to the three schools, and how the positive feedback from the neighbors and the residents. So very excited about that, and they're working pretty quickly. They started construction about a week and a half ago, and they started up around Flax Hill, and they're making their way, putting the curbing in right now, and so we're excited to see those sidewalks kind of come to form. That's another major project that's been on the docket for the last few years. So it's nice to see some dirt being dug up and new concrete and asphalt being put in, which is nice. So this is another project that we're definitely excited to see put in, and it's another milestone project as well, and the first of many more to come. Question?
Thanks, Greg. I'm going to formally introduce Willem now. Willem is an NCC student, also an alumnus of.
I went to Brookside Elementary School for 5th grade, and I went to Rowton Middle School in 6th and 7th grade.
So as such, Willem was qualified to talk about the Highland Avenue from the perspective of a student. The city contacted me and asked me if I would speak, and then if I could find ideally a McMahon alum, and none of my friends that are McMahon alums could make it. So I found Willem, and Willem was happy to speak, and he killed it.
Yeah, it was a great event.
So I'm going to move on. Greg, there's nothing else from TMP, right?
Nope, that's all for us.
I did want to ask a follow-up about something that wasn't on the agenda, and that is the sidewalk audit. I mentioned it in my remarks on Wednesday. We've been hearing for a few months now that the field work is done, that we're just waiting on the consultant to compile everything and pass it over to TMP. Is that still where we're at?
Yeah, I mean, we've been getting samples from the database and what it carries and what the displays are showing. We're kind of going back and forth with them right now at this point. So it's still in the process of being completed, but it's much further along than it was a couple months ago. So we're getting much closer. So we're actually able to visualize those missing sidewalk segments and kind of get a better sense of where they're missing, but the final deliverable hasn't been completed yet.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks for the update.
Mhm.
I'm going to move on to the next agenda item, which is the bike-friendly community application. So I'll start with this update. So last month we discussed this. Christine has kind of been leading this effort, but Christine was out last month. So this is half of this is just bringing Christine up to speed. We discussed with Greg. Greg brought some perspective from TMP. TMP is on board to help us prepare for the February deadline, but the earlier deadline that I think is end of September is too early. in particular because, and I talked to Jim about this as well, the summer is by far TMP's busiest time because of, for example, all of the construction projects that are able to happen in the summer that aren't able to happen in the winter. So we'll have access to more of, for example, Kyle's time. Kyle's the traffic analyst, the transportation analyst. So, and we'll need him to query the GIS database, for example, and help us fill out the application. So we'll have access to more of his time later in the year. And so it will be much easier to get the application in February. And also, Greg made the point last time, which is still valid, that a lot of the projects that are in flight right now will be done by then, and we'll be able to talk about them a lot more once they're done. So when I was talking to Jim about how we should move forward, he suggested that as a commission that we kind of take the first stab at the application and start filling it out, even if we're not sure that our answers are perfectly accurate, that we can start putting in our best guesses or maybe just drafts as answers to all the questions. And we can maybe do that in chunks, like a month at a time. I want to propose that we kind of spin up a working group, kind of like Sam is spinning up for the artistic bike racks, that we grab a few people who want to help answer these questions for the bike-friendly community application, and work on that outside of this meeting. So that's my update. Christine, do you have any updates or do you have any questions?
No, I just want to say that, it brings all the work that we're doing right now. For example, like Jerry Silver's talk today, the infrastructure piece that Greg shares with us, the artistic bike racks, the school to park paths, and all this work. These are all these components, and education is also a component. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later on, but it's an extensive application. New Haven has received an award, and there's different levels of awards. So it's a lot of work and it's an ambitious goal, but it's definitely worthwhile to get on the map. And I attended a webinar, 2 webinars, and so did Kyle from the city with the leagues, the webinar about how to do the application and what they're looking for. So there's scorecards right now. So I hope some of you with this group really participate and help with this, because it's going to be extremely exciting for the city. And it's really going to be a feather in the cap for this commission. So, and it's good work. It's not that hard, but it's time consuming. There's a lot of components, and there's something called the 5 E's, and I don't have it right in front of me, what they're looking for, how they're rating us. But we have quite a few of them, but education is a piece of that, and I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes. Thank you.
Thanks, Christine. Yeah, off the top of my head, I think some of the E's are engineering, which means like infrastructure and education. But let's see, I have these in notes, but I think probably what's best is that I bring them up in a meeting that we spin up, like I said, with a smaller group of people who are most interested in contributing to this. So I guess at this point, I just want to ask for a show of hands, who would be interested in meeting separately from the main commission meeting to work through the application and to start trying to answer some of these questions. The questions are very detailed. For example, there's a section of the application about bike parking, and it's like, are there employers in your city that provide this kind of bike parking? Are there employers that provide that kind of bike parking? Are there employers that provide showers? Are there employers that provide like a bike pump at their office? And so these are all questions that like no one person is going to know all the answers to these, and so it helps to have a group, and not just a group of advocates, but also city officials, because they might know some things that we don't. So yeah, I'd love to get a good group and a diverse group together to answer these questions. So who's interested?
Okay, Tanner, just quickly,
Go ahead, Christine.
the E's are equity and accessibility, a bicycle-friendly America for everyone. And that's where we have, being a diverse urban community, we can really shine in this area, I think. Engineering, creating safe spaces to ride and park, education, people of all ages, abilities, confidence to ride, encouragement, creating a strong bike culture that welcomes and celebrates bicycling. And lastly, evaluation and planning for bicycle as a safe and viable transportation option. So it would really be great if some people step forward here and we can all think out of the box really and answer these questions. There's so much help on this website to do this. It's just very precise. So it's just time consuming.
Thanks, Christine. So yeah, with that said, now that we have a little more information about the application, we've got a hand from Phil. Can I get a show of hands of other people who would like to help fill this thing out? Phil, Ben, Emily, awesome. Obviously, Christine and I will be there as well.
I would love to join too. I can't find my hand here.
Leah, awesome. Let me write.
Thanks,
Break
John.
down.
Yeah, I think all the commissioners really should have a little bit of a small role. So I really do. I think we all need to kind of step up. The commissioners, definitely. We all have a little piece of this that we can answer, you know, like expertise. Judd and Colin, you have expertise, Sam.
So anybody who puts their hand up, I'll invite them to the first meeting. If we end up with questions that we think somebody who's not there can answer best, then of course I'll pull them in. But for the first meeting, I got Peter's hand as well. I got Phil, Ben, Emily, Julia, and Peter. Was there anybody I missed? Awesome. Cool. That's a great group to start with. Y'all can put your hands down now. So I think I'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is bike safety classes. Christine.
Okay, I'll be quick. Thank you. So there's a woman, her name is Karen Jenkins, and she has been with the League of American Bicyclists for many years, and she works with the New Haven group, who we've had guest speakers from, the New Haven Coalition for Active Transportation. They offer free classes to anybody in New Haven, and actually anybody. And that's their goal, and they get funding for that, private funding. But Karen wants to come and speak to our group about the bike-friendly America application and to help us and encourage us with this. So that's going to be a couple of months, I think. So I'm a league certified instructor for the National League of American Bicyclists. I went through an extensive training to get this certification. I'm the only one certified in Norwalk. There's about maybe 25, 30 certified instructors in all of Connecticut and throughout the nation. And in order to get the certification, you have to take a series of classes, different levels, the intro, second level, and then a whole entire weekend to become a league certified instructor. They're called LCIs. Karen Jenkins is one of them. And my training was in New Haven. So I would like to offer to the city, start to offer some classes. And Karen was giving a lot of advice about how to do this, start small and start with people who are in the power brokers in the city, like common council members, or start with our commissioners. And the goal would be to get people on a higher level to get trained in bicycle safety and education. Okay, so I'm brief, and I'm wondering,
Brian,
I would like to
sorry,
see
Christine.
if we can get paid. Okay.
Brian, do you mind muting? Or Delene, can you mute Brian?
Thank you. So it would be a series of classes, like maybe like 3 hours. So I contacted Norwalk Recreation Commission and about using a public park to hold a class. It'd be like 3 hours on a Saturday, and then maybe the next Saturday, another 3 hours. And then we'd have a ride on the road. It's called Riding on the Road. So to build confidence among people. Okay, so that's pretty much it in a nutshell. But I'm hoping there's in our budget, we could provide like funding for me to be the instructor. It would be kind of a little paid little thing, because Karen Jenkins is recommending that, you know, that the instructors get a little bit of a payment. So anyway, that's pretty much briefly, you'll be hearing more about this. Yeah, I think that's it, Tanner, on that.
Thanks. Go ahead, Jed.
Chris, I'm sorry I don't have time to get too heavily involved with this, but I know at other locations outside of Norwalk, REI teaches bike riding classes. And I spoke to a manager there years ago when this was just a task force, and they seemed interested, but I think somebody came to one meeting, but you might speak to them, they might partner up with you on this for the bike riding, so.
Yeah, I don't really need a partner. I don't need any help. I'm gonna do this and I have the certification.
You
So-
don't need any other instructors or anything.
Well, it would have to, I would like to have, this component's gonna help us with our application.
Right.
Bike friendly, so they want league certified instructors.
Oh,
So
I
I
see.
would love that, but I would love somebody here to get that certification at some point. But yes, I would like an assistant, but yeah, so
Okay, well, when you were talking about it, I thought of them, so.
yeah, thank
I thought
you.
I'd mention it.
But anyway, this is to build confidence of riding in the streets. Like we all ride bicycles, maybe most of us, we can ride a bike, but it's really, I learned a lot and I've been riding bikes since I was little, right? So when I took the class, I learned quite a bit and my confidence level increased immensely after taking this smart cycling class. So it's a very valuable program.
Thanks, Christine. Two things. Christine mentioned to me that she would dig in a little more and write up kind of a more formal proposal with an actual dollar amount so that we could vote on it. For those of you who are new, we do have a $10,000 a year administrative budget. Some of that goes to paying Delene, who takes our notes. Thank you, Delene. Some of that, for example, last year went toward swag that we're going to use at events, and that's the next thing on the agenda, actually. Some of it went toward sending me and Vanessa from DPW to a seminar about walkable cities. But in this upcoming year, I think one option, in fact, the first option that's been put in front of the commission so far is to use money to pay an instructor like Christine to do this class. I think it's a great idea. Christine, can you come back next month with a dollar amount, even just a rough dollar amount? Awesome. The other thing is, I can, Christine, if you'll send me the info about how to become a league certified instructor, I will send it out to everybody, both commissioners and non-commissioners on my kind of meeting mailing list, so that you can read more about it. And so that you can consider if one or more of you would like to become an instructor, that would be really helpful, both for our application and for the city of Norwalk, just to help more people learn how to bike in the street safer. So I'll send that out. Please read it and consider whether you have the time and the bandwidth to become an instructor. So anything else, Christine, or can we move on?
No, thank you very much.
Awesome. So the last thing before we approve the last month's minutes is National Night Out. This is a program that's been done every year, except for I think 2020 we didn't do it because of COVID. Maybe we did. I can't remember. But the police department puts it on. It's a nationwide event that police departments put on all over the country to do outreach to the community, and we've done a booth there. I actually don't have the date written down. I should have done that.
Tanner, I'll get it for you in a second. I have it.
Okay, thanks. But it's in September, if I'm not mistaken. So I figured we should talk about it now at this meeting because it might even be before our next meeting. Any luck, Christine?
All right, it's September. I have it here. Just give me a second here. They had, I don't know why it's in September this year. They must have had to, because it's usually in the summertime. It's traditionally held in the
I found
summer.
it. It's September 27th.
Oh,
So
good.
it's almost 2 months away. So we can talk about it again at our next meeting, maybe in more detail. But I plan to be there. Please put it on your calendar. The more people we have there, the better. It's a great opportunity to talk to the public, not only to educate them about biking and walking, but also to learn about what normal people see as their impediments to biking and walking in Norwalk, because that's really valuable feedback for us and for the city. Go ahead, Judd.
I spoke to Alex at Smart Cycles the other day, just about the commission, and he has, I guess, several hundred bike locks he wants to give away.
Yes, I've talked to him about it too.
Okay, yep, I think you got me started on that. And anyway, he is planning to have a table at the National Night Out and give away his bicycle locks, and I'm
Oh, he's
hoping,
gonna do it then.
yes, I'm hoping all our new swag will be in by then, and we can set our tables up next to his and promote biking. So
Great. Well, then I will take an action item. I haven't actually filled out the application for us to have a booth. I need to do that. So I'm gonna do that, and I'll specifically request that we put our table next to Smart
Great.
Cycles so that we can coordinate.
That would be great. Then I'll try and stop in and make sure he's got his application in.
Great. I do have an announcement that wasn't on the agenda because it happened since I put the agenda together. But I have good news. If you follow our Facebook page, you will see I reposted a post from the city, which I'm going to just screen share here, which in my opinion is a pretty big milestone. And that is right here. I met on Friday with I'm sharing the wrong window. My bad. I met on Friday with the director of parks, the new director of parks, Robert Stowers. He's only been with the city for about 7 months. And I talked to him about Calf Pasture Beach. And in particular, I mentioned one thing that has bothered me for a long time, which is that we have so many good ways to get to Calf Pasture Beach without a car, and yet the city doesn't advertise any of them. If you go, for example, to the website for Calf Pasture Beach, fully like half of the website is dedicated to talking about parking. And parking is a huge issue. Everybody gets confused and frustrated about parking because you have to get a parking permit and people don't know where to go to get a parking permit and if they qualify and how much it costs if they don't have a permit, how much the permit costs. Anyway, I feel like every third post I see in any city Facebook group is about parking at Calf Pasture Beach. So I was like, obviously the city is going to need to inform people about how to park because a lot of people are going to want or need to drive to the beach and park. But we have all these alternatives that the city never mentions. So I mentioned this to Robert from Parks, and he said, that's a great point. We should change the way that we talk about it. So I sent an email to Michelle, who's the director of communications for the city, and CC'd a bunch of people, including the mayor, and made this point. And she responded super quickly and was like, we're going to put a social media post out. And that social media post went out on Saturday, and it looks like this. It says, consider eco-friendly ways to get to Norwalk beaches this summer. It talks about walking and biking, the Norwalk River Valley Trail, the bike tracks we have at the beach. It also talks about different ways to get there using the Norwalk Transit District. The conversation is ongoing. Michelle said that they're going to update the city's website and other things as well to talk about how to get to the beach without a car. So I wanted to share that because I think that it's a great development.
Yeah, Tanner, that's a fantastic thing, and that wasn't the one I saw. I think the city might have actually just done a press release on that as well, because I saw something that was a little bit more text heavy. But I was surprised to see that, and I was encouraged because, like you, I see a lot of posts on Facebook about parking at Calf Pasture.
Was it the text heavy one that you saw? Was it on social media?
Yeah, it was on Facebook. I think it was just the city posted it, but
yeah.
maybe I just saw the top of it.
Sorry, what I shared a second ago was our repost, which doesn't have all the text unless you open it up. But here's the original post from the city, and it does have all the info as text. So if a bigger point here is that if you find something that you feel like the city could very obviously address that makes a lot of sense like this, tell me, because we can talk to the city. In particular, I've met with Michelle, the director of communications before, and she's very sympathetic to anything that helps Norwalk become more eco-friendly, and walking and biking are absolutely in that category. So with that, we are done with our agenda, except for approving the minutes. As I mentioned earlier, Deline from the city dutifully takes our notes, but I think before we vote, Judd has his hand up. Go ahead, Judd. Judd, you're muted.
I think most of us know that East Coast Greenway passes through Norwalk, and every summer I see at least several long distance bike travelers, tours, and I often stop and talk to them if I can. Twice I've had people come home to camp out in our yard, And one guy was from Japan. That was a couple of years ago. A few weeks ago, it was a gentleman from the Netherlands. And I just want to encourage you, if you see people traveling with panniers and things, stop and talk to them. They're usually pretty interesting, and it's, it was fun to host these people. So I just thought I'd mention that.
That's a great point, Judd. Thanks. I actually did that a couple of weeks ago. I talked to somebody, a group of cyclists on Washington Street. Turns out they were biking from Brooklyn all the way up to, I think, Milford, just a long day trip. But long story short, the guy invited me to be on his podcast. So I haven't yet been on the podcast, but you never know what can happen if you talk to somebody on a bike.
Yeah.
I think, that is fabulous. That is so cool. I think that would be a great article for like the Norwalk Hour or Nancy on Norwalk. I really do. If we could somehow harness that, it would help us too.
Yeah.
About the bike travelers, like bikepackers?
Yeah. I don't think I didn't really realize that's happening.
Yeah, I see them on 136 every year. A few weeks ago, I saw a group of 4 women on South Main Street, all loaded up with panniers and camping gear. And I didn't stop and talk to them, but I thought it was interesting. It was 4 women in a group traveling together. So.
Yeah, Judd, what do you think about pitching this to Nancy on Norwalk?
About the East Coast Greenway?
Yeah, and just like the fact that we get all of these bike travelers going through.
Yeah, as long as you don't use my name and put my address in. So they all I don't want them to show up at my house.
No, I'm saying, can you send Nancy an email and say, hey, you should do a story about this and give her some.
Yeah, I'll try and do that. Yep.
Awesome.
Call her.
Cool. Thanks, Judd, and thanks, Christine, for the idea. Good idea.
Yeah.
All right, so at this point, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from last month. I have read them and they are great. Anybody want, but I can't make the motion. Judd, I think you might be making a motion, but you're
Motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
Thanks, Colin. Do I have a second? Judd has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Thanks, everybody. You're not a commissioner, so you can't actually go, but I appreciate the support.
Okay.
Okay. Any other matters, or I will also entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Awesome. Thanks, Judd. A second?
Second.
And Colin, all in favor?
Aye.
Great. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Have a great month of August. Oh, our next meeting is the second Monday in September because the first Monday is Labor Day. So it's September 12th is our next meeting. Have a great August. See ya.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.